Hey, welcome back to No Gears, No Glory. Today we're working on this front wheel on the Yamaha YZ400. If you didn't see our previous episode, basically we were trying to get the wheel off because it doesn't want to turn. Apparently the axle is seized and rusted and corroded. I can't really get a whole lot done with it that way. So in our attempt to try to get it off, the axle wouldn't come out. So we ended up taking the forks off the triple tree, and this is what we're left with. Let's go ahead and dig in and see what's going on. One of the first things we need to do is get this brake cable either off of the fork or off the lever. As you can see, there's a little hoop here where the brake cable goes through and goes down to the wheel. This is held on with a clamp that just has a little Phillips head screw. Let's go ahead and unscrew that now, and we'll get that off. And we're free! We're free! All right. Step one complete. So we have bearings pressed into this, and so the axle's on there pretty solidly. I'm gonna take the rubber mallet and see if we can't bang on that axle a little bit. We're clearly gonna have to replace these bearings. They are completely shot. The one on this side of the wheel is falling apart. We got some pieces of it here, and so just hopefully it'll just all go at once. So let's start tapping away. There we go. So trying to get a close-up of this wheel, you can see there is so much junk in there. There's so much rust and corrosion, and just it's absolutely filthy. No wonder this thing didn't want to turn. Unbelievable. Well, the issue we have now is that this axle is probably pretty much shot. And so we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do now. I was pounding on this thing pretty good, trying to get it out. And fortunately, I don't think I really ultimately damaged anything, but the damage is right here. And didn't look good, not at all. Is there any value in taking this apart any further? And there's a ton of rust and corrosion within the wheel itself where the axle goes. Let's take a look at the wheel and see the condition of that, and if that's even usable. I do have a spare wheel. I'll have to compare it to see if that's going to be a plausible scenario to put it back together and get her rolling. But here we go. So right here you can kind of see how much corrosion and stuff is in there. Just absolutely filthy. And then on the floor, that's the pile of dust that came out of the wheel once I laid it back down. And for those of you who might be asking, well, how does the other side look? This is the side with obviously our brake pads to go on. This bearing's still pressed in there, and it's there, and she don't want to turn either. Just completely locked up. Bearings are shot. So now I want to try and press out this bad bearing. I'm going to do that with just using a socket extension that I've banged on in the past before, so it's already seen some damage. I'm going to use the rubber mallet so it shouldn't cause too much harm. See if we can get a good shot of this though. Let's go ahead and throw some penetrating lube on that, let it sit for a few minutes, and maybe we'll get lucky. Nothing. And voila. We got it! Yeah. Yeah, she shot. As dirty as this hub is, I do believe that if we pressed in new bearings and got that axle or a new axle into working shape, we might actually be okay and be back in business. Alright, well, there she'll stay for a little while until we figure out this axle situation. I'm gonna hop online tonight and probably go to Rocky Mountain ATV or Parzilla or something like that and see if I can't source a new axle and what that might cost, and obviously the bearings that might go with it. Or I might just source the bearings locally and clean up this axle as much as possible. I don't really want to dump too much money into this bike. I don't even know if it's really salvageable at this point. We'll see. And that would explain why I didn't want to turn. That is terrible. I'm not sure if that's usable or not. So we're gonna have to go ahead and try and clean that up and see what we're left with. Ooh, here we go. In the interest of being thorough, let's get this bearing off this axle. I believe this is the bearing that was stopping us from getting the axle out to begin with. That is not budging. Interesting enough, after moving that around with the penetrating lube, that bearing actually spins. Well, when all else fails, just destroy it. That's one way to do it. Not sure if we can get this. There's a dimple right here for that bearing. That'd probably be why I didn't want to come off. It's possible that this axle is built with that bearing on there. I do not know. That's above my pay grade. So it'll be interesting to figure out how we're going to get a new one on there. So just to see how much we can get this axle cleaned up, I'm going to go ahead and take some Brillo pad and just start scuffing it, and probably going to get a lot of rust everywhere. But let's just see how bad the corrosion is and go from there. Okay, I'm stepping up my game with some 120 grit. Let's try that. Here we go. So after quite a bit of sanding, here is what we're left with. It definitely looks better. Got a lot of that corrosion away. Got inside this little dimple. I'm not sure what that valley is called for the bearing to sit in. And that's where that bearing I just broke off was. So it's definitely better. Salvageable? I don't know. So we're gonna have to, like I said, I'm gonna go online and see if I can't source out some parts, some new bearings and new axle. I don't really want to throw money at this yet, but it's good to know what's ahead of me. Oof, shoe's bad. All right, in the spirit of just being thorough and looking at the parts, here's the front brakes that we took off. And they actually have still a reasonable amount of life left on them. Obviously we're going to replace them. These are not reliable at this point after sitting so long, being weathered and such. These are genuine Yamaha parts. I don't know if you can see the logo right there. We have genuine Yamaha part numbers, so I can source those and hopefully get them replaced with OEM. If not, a suitable replacement. Well, that's going to wrap this one up today. A little bit of a short episode. This front wheel turned out to be a little bit more of a challenge or disappointment than I expected it to be. I was really hoping it'd be a little bit less complicated than that much corrosion on that axle. You know, such is life with this project. I know we're going to run into some things like that. And again, I don't know if this bike is viable, but I'm going to learn a lot just tearing into it and playing with it. And that's the whole point of what I'm doing here, is learning and growing and expanding my knowledge base. Anyhow, thanks so much for joining me here at No Gears, No Glory. I appreciate you spending your time viewing my content. I hope you like what you're seeing. If so, maybe hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, consider doing so. You may enjoy some of the content I'm bringing here. And I've got a lot of feature plans coming up for this year. 2021 is going to be a big year for No Gears, No Glory. And I'll look forward to doing it, and I hope you look forward to watching it. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.